Hello, greetings, and welcome back to the BFC, where we go into the trenches of the trading world. And we got a surprise interview today. We are here with David Bailey of Nakamoto, correct? Nasdaq ticker NAKA, right?
That's right.
Well, this is a breath of fresh air. Listen, because guess what? We're going to be talking a little bit about crypto. So you're new to the BFC audience. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, who you are, and what you've been doing?
Yeah, well, first off, thank you for having me on. I'm David Bailey. I'm the CEO, founder of Nakamoto. I'm a longtime Bitcoin advocate. I've bought my first Bitcoins when I was 22 years old in 2012 for about 10 bucks. And I've been buying and investing in Bitcoin ever since, buying and selling companies. We've built a variety of operating companies that we just finished merging all into one business called Nakamoto. Those operating companies include Bitcoin Magazine, which is the world's oldest Bitcoin media brand, the Bitcoin Conference, which is the world's largest, and finance is actually largest conference in the world, and UTXO Management, which is a Bitcoin asset manager. That's one of the best performing hedge funds in the world.
Tell us a little bit about.
One more thing I should probably add: at Nakamoto, we own a bunch of Bitcoin as well. So about 5,400 Bitcoins that we bought last year.
Wow. Nice treasury you got going on there. Yeah. So now listen, I want to ask a little bit about that because you mentioned a Bitcoin magazine. You also mentioned the world's biggest conference is a Bitcoin conference.
Yeah, the world's biggest finance conference. Yeah.
A finance conference. So talk to us a little bit about the magazine a little bit. Where can people find that? And talk to us a little bit about the conference as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at our business by just revenue, our main business is the conferences. They're I think at this point, globally recognized. We've had the president speak at them, President Trump speak. We've had prime ministers and presidents from around the world. It's where El Salvador announced Bitcoin as legal tender. It's where we celebrated getting Ross Ulbricht's pardoned. It's a lot of historic stuff has happened at it, and we host them not just in the U.S. but all over the world. So this year is in Las Vegas, coming up in about 2 months, but we have one in Hong Kong, one in Abu Dhabi, and one in Amsterdam. So it's really a cool thing to be a part of. It gives us kind of the ability to hear what's happening on the ground all over the world with Bitcoin, and it kind of gives you an interesting perspective that I think all these different parts of Bitcoin are so different, and if you're not like in the weeds with it, you don't really see it. So that's our core business, and then our asset management business. It also feeds off that same engine. I mean, we have about $150 million AUM. We've done some really amazing trades around that, all focused with Bitcoin, and we generate our alpha and opportunities off of the conference and off of our media platform.
Right on. Is crypto awareness gains momentum, and that's right where we're at. We're like, it's becoming mainstream, and more people on the average that I talk to in my field, I work in education, they're starting to ask more questions. They're starting to talk to each other more about it. So like people could sense there's a big change coming, especially when it comes to financing and tokenization and all that good stuff. I mean, as awareness kicks up, how do you think the impact of the clarity bill, once that all gets ironed out, how big of an impact do you think that's going to make in the overall world of crypto?
Well, I think the big difference that it's going to make is it's going to make it safe for big institutions to get involved. That's a double-edged sword. Getting big institutions getting involved, it shows that Bitcoin's winning and Bitcoin's maturing and evolving into what the world needs it to be. But also, Bitcoin is built to defy the big institutions, and it's a system where, it's a completely free market system. And so, participants, it's Wild West, let's say. So I think I think it's good for Bitcoin's adoption to have it happen. I think it's an inevitability that these things happen. It's kind of like Bitcoin wasn't given the Clarity Act. It kind of forced the Clarity Act onto the world. And I think as Bitcoin just keeps growing, as the number of voters who hold Bitcoin keeps growing, it's going to be more closely integrated into every government around the planet and eventually every corporate balance sheet on the planet.
Yeah, unbelievable. Now, you guys are an investor in, if I'm correct, of OTCQB ticker MATAF, correct? Matador?
Yeah, we are.
So talk about your role there and what have you guys been doing? And I know you could speak to a little bit about their goals too. And I think if I'm correct, they're trying to get to 1,000 by the end of 1,000 Bitcoin by the end of this year. And right now they're put in the top 100, correct? So talk a little bit about your involvement with them and what's going on.
Yeah, well, the story of Matador is actually the story of how Nakamoto got started as well. So from UTXO, our investment fund, we were underwriting public companies all over the world to put Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And so our first company we backed was a company out of Japan called Metaplanet that we seeded for them to buy Bitcoin and put it on their balance sheet. And it became one of the best performing stocks in the world, the best performing stock in Japan. And from that experience, we decided this is an idea we wanted to extend to more markets. And so we did it again in Korea and France and in Singapore and Thailand and Taiwan and Hong Kong and Sweden and all over the world. And Canada is one of the most exciting markets that you could enter into. So we worked with Matador to bring Bitcoin to the Canadian capital markets. And we saw a team that knew the markets well, and we saw a public vehicle that was ready to move quickly and decisively. So yeah, we're super excited to be investors in Matador and to see Matador get to not just 1,000 Bitcoins, but beyond.
Yeah, they already have aspirations for 6,000 by 2027. Now, I'll ask you one more question while I have you here. It's, we're talking about an OTC company. You're up in the Nasdaq. I mean, they are QB, but how significant is, them securing $100 million in financing facility? I mean, to me, that's freaking huge for an OTC. You don't see that in the OTC, that kind of a number being thrown around legitimately.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's the power of Bitcoin. It's the power of global interest in Bitcoin securities. I think one of the biggest challenges when you're on a less liquid exchange is just getting to the economies of scale necessary to make the economics of being public work. And I think with Matador, the scale that they're able to get to, they're shooting way above their weight. So I think it's just a matter of time before they cycle up through their exchange listings to new markets.
Awesome. I want to give you an opportunity just to speak directly to your shareholders at Nasdaq, NAKA. Hey, the floor is yours. Anything you'd like to share to your investor base or potential investors?
2026 is going to be a great year. See you there.
Excellent. I do think 2026 is going to be a very good year, especially for crypto. Lots to look forward to. I look forward to having you back on the show because guess what? This is a to be continued. We are also going to be joined with the team of Matador. So, David Bailey, I want to thank you for taking the time for joining us today.
Cool. Thank you for having me. Ciao.
All right, guys, remember there's more that binds us than breaks us. Have a great evening. Peace out.